First on the agenda is to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thanks. So welcome everyone in person, and I see a few names in the Zoom meeting as well. So if anyone wants to address the board during our public comments section of the agenda, you can. You just need to sign up, and there's a sign up sheet by the physical entrance here. And if you want to do that remotely, you would let our host know that you would like to address the board at that time. And yeah, that's it. So visitor guest book, if you want to be acknowledged for being a visitor, you can also sign into the guest book. You don't need to, but if you want a record of you having attended, you sure can. And then moving on to announcements, which I don't know of any announcements. Any announcements? Okay, let's dive right into presentations. We're going to start with our Leads Award, and I'll hand it off to Superintendent Stuckey.
Thank you. One of my favorite parts of the meeting is being able to promote the Leads Award. That is a new award this school year that we will be continuing. It's our chance, our opportunity to recognize students who are demonstrating great behavior, great example for others, both in their school and in the community. And LEADS, L-E-A-D-S, stands for L, leadership, E, effort, A, achievement, D, diversity and inclusion, and S, service. So tonight we would just like to take a few minutes to recognize students from each school who are demonstrating one or more of those attributes in their school and or their community. And I'm going to start by asking Mr. Peterson to please step forward.
Would love to, thank you. And I'd like to have Jesus step forward. Come on up here, Jesus. This is Jesus Espinoza, and I'm going to read to you what some of our staff members have said about Jesus. One staff member describes our lead student for June as a leader both in and out of the classroom. He's always on task and willing to lend a helping hand to other students without being asked. He leads by example, showing passion, grit, and determination. Another staff member states she's always impressed with his effort. He's ready to work and work hard. He's willing to ask questions, and he's willing to discuss things. Another one says he's very dedicated to his education. He's kind and hardworking. He is always doing what he's supposed to be doing in class, which is a good thing. Although quiet in his demeanor in a classroom, he asks insightful and thoughtful questions when he needs help and produces good work. So please join me in congratulating Jesus Espinoza Rosas as JFK's lead student for June.
And everyone will have their picture taken by Christy, it looks like. And then at the end, we'll have all of the recipients stay for a picture with the members of the board as well. So, Mr. Taylor.
This is Jesus Martinez. So I want to tell a little story about Jesus. This is from one of your teachers. Jesus has shown tremendous amount of growth this year. Jesus had an interesting start at Mount Angel Middle School. He wasn't at all thrilled about starting middle school or even school in general. There weren't a lot of smiles in classes those first few months. But as time went on, Jesus started figuring a few things out. He figured out how middle school works and discovered that he's actually pretty good at school. The change in him is monumental. He has been working so hard in his classes. He smiles, now it's time to smile. He's smiling. He helps other students, and he has grown so much this year. We are so incredibly proud of him for the growth and determination he has shown. We have chosen him as the MAM's Leads Student of the Month.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Could I please have Avery and Lisa join? So I kind of stretched this month, but there's a very good reason that I'm going to recognize two students this month. Avery Brendan and Lisa Bauman are being recognized for service. And this was absolutely unprompted, I feel, that these ladies 3 or 4 months ago decided they were just going to help out during their recesses in the office. And we have a really evolving clothes closet. You ladies might be able to comment more on that. We have a lot of, rainy day recesses and things. So it's a moving target all the time. They help organize daily. They sort different, our recognition of certificates, the toodles that we have in our school. They sort them among the teachers to give them back to the classes. They are just very selfless and have done a great thing for our office. Probably saved us nearly 100 hours of work, honestly, over the months. So I can't say enough about them. They're amazing leaders, and we're sad but excited for them to move on to middle school next year. Thank you. Congratulations, Lisa. Congratulations. Well done, ladies.
We thought just the sun is like hitting some ions. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Nice.
And now we're gonna ask the recipients to gather, and Christy, you can direct us, and get a group photo with the board, and then we're honest. He's right there. I know.
He snuck in anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna be in the front.
If it makes you feel any better, nobody can find him in the school year. He's like a phone call away, kind of there. Right, Mom? You're never anywhere in the school except on the phone.
1, 2, 3. It's now everybody. Perfect.
Nice.
Families and recipients, you're welcome to stay for the duration of our board meeting. Lots of excitement happens, and you're also welcome to leave now, which most do. In fact, all have, so. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. Families. Well done. Moving on to JFK leadership.
Well, that'll be me tonight. I think we rock, paper, scissors, didn't we?
Yeah.
Taylor? Some exciting spring for us at the high school.
Dale, do you want to, since we're recording?
Yes, I can. Yes, thank you for that.
Just so if you're closer to the blue box.
Yes.
Yes.
Super exciting spring this year. Moff will probably talk a little bit about this, but our baseball team really kind of made history. Certainly want to know. Back-to-back state champions, really dominated this year. And if you go back to last year, they're actually 38-0. So wonderful season for them. Lots of accolades. So there's a lot of that happening with the baseball program. Our track program sent 19 student athletes to the state track meet. Tough for me to go to University of Oregon, to Hayward Field, but I did. Being that old Husky that I am, but it's a beautiful place. I have to give them that. And we had a lot of great people that finished well up in the standings. So it was a lot of fun to watch them both days. And then we had softball that competed in the semifinals and lost to the eventual state champions, 5-2. And that was likely the final, really was the final because Grant Union ended up 10 running the team that they played in the state championship game. So something Moff and I talked about earlier was if you asked us if our girls softball team was a top 4 team at the beginning of the year, there was not a chance we would say yes. The freshman kids stepped up and they got a lot better. Pitching and hitting and fielding. It was just fun to watch the progression as those kids kept doing what they do. And they kept the tradition of softball at JFK as alive and well. We had the spring concert. I was on the lawn. That was a lot of fun. Lots of people showed up for that. And lots of testing that's finally done. Thank goodness for that. And I think kids, well, almost done. We have one more final.
Period
We have
tomorrow.
one more final tomorrow morning. But for the most part, kids have done a really nice job. I think we were ready for this. I know Taylor her and I were talking this morning about her Algebra 2 and her US history final that she had today. So lots of great stuff happening at JFK this spring. And kids will be done tomorrow at 11:53, if I'm not mistaken. Not that I knew that number off the top of my head. But I think they're all looking forward to a nice summer break.
Dale, with leadership,
Mhm.
or do we have a new ASB group?
We do have a new ASB group. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I know Jeremiah Traeger, I believe, is our ASB president. I'm trying to think because I didn't have it memorized just because we've done a lot of stuff. Manya Vaquera is, I believe, our ASB vice president. And then we've got all of our class presidents and things like that. So yes, we do have a new group of ASB and student government folks. Yep.
And Taylor, yeah, dive in.
We also had our drama class. I don't know if that was mentioned. They had their first public performance not that long ago. I wasn't able to make it due to work. I heard that it was very, very well done and they had a lot of fun with that. We also had the band play at graduation. That was super exciting and we're really excited for our next group of kids. There's lots of kids who are coming in as freshmen. A lot of our kids right now are leaving, unfortunately, because of AP honor classes that have to get done. But that was very exciting. And a lot of those kids will be starting new instruments. There's a couple of kids who've shown interest in doing much more advanced trumpet players going into French horn, flute players going into piccolo. I myself will be starting oboe. Just lots of kids trying new things.
So I always end my Monday notes with this. I send it to my staff. It's certainly a great day to be a Trojan, and it really is when we start thinking about all the fun stuff that happened this spring. And even though there was lots of testing and surveys and lots of stuff like that, it was still it was an awesome spring. It really was.
Wonderful. And Dale, I want to mention that, yes, I too feel the same about Oregon in general, University
Yes,
of Oregon,
you do.
and very special for anybody in track and field to compete at Hayward.
Oh, there's no doubt.
That experience is incredible. So for those 19 athletes to be able to compete at a world-class facility with world-class, I mean, the way they manage and run those meets is so impressive.
It was-
That's very cool.
Yes, I mean, and there was lots of personal records, PRs that were had down at the state meet just because it's a fast track. It's a super fast track. We had a 1A kid that ran the 110.6 as a state record, 10.6 for a small school. That's almost unheard of. And I think he ran 100 to 200 and 400 and won all 3 of those. And I want to say they also won the 4x1 maybe, but I'm not quite sure on that one, but I know he won the 100 to 200 and 400. Incredible athlete. Yeah.
So yeah, very, very cool. Any questions or comments for Dale? Thank you.
Welcome.
And I'm saving it, but we know this is your last time reporting to us. It will be mentioned again. Okay. Sports report. Kevin Moffitt.
I'll be a bit quick because got a summer league game going on, so I got to hustle back up there. But I count my bank went under an hour, so I can do this. First, I want to say thanks to Mr. Peterson. He's a good man, and I'm sad to see him going. Appreciate all he's done. If that hasn't been announced, I apologize, but I want to thank him publicly for all the support he's given us, and he cares about kids. That's going to be big shoes to fill. So thanks, Dale. The spring sports, we had around 90 kids participating this year. By far more than any 2A team that I know of. Huge track teams, huge baseball team, softball team, very good. They're a little small, but very good. We won district titles in every sport that we offer, both track teams, softball and baseball. That's pretty rare because usually you can be good in one sport or the other, but you're not usually good in all four because kids, have to kind of pick at small schools, and that's pretty incredible. Softball, I think it's our 7th league title in a row. Baseball, it's 5 in a row. So we're trailing them a little bit, got to get going there. We had state semifinalist teams, we had state championship teams. We had 2 league players of the year, Jenna Hopkins in softball and Ethan Kleinschmidt in baseball. Dale mentioned we had 19 track athletes, the state record for us, incredible amount of kids going. Ethan Kleinschmidt was also the state player of the year for baseball. I've been here a long time and that's only my 2nd one of those, and the guy that got it the first time had to split it, so that's pretty incredible.
There was a softball player who got state.
What's that?
Wasn't there a softball player that got state player?
Well, they haven't done it yet. They're a little bit behind.
No, in the history of Kennedy.
Yeah, we have had some softball players. Yes, we have. They've been a little better. But more important than I think all the success, I mean, football team was in the state championship, basketball team was in the semifinal and would have been playing for a championship minus a fluke shot. So our baseball, our boys teams would have played in the state finals in all 3 sports. Our girls team has kind of pulled that number a few times, been really good, but more important than all that, our grades for our teams were really stellar. Softball highest GPA in 2A, I don't have the exact number, but I think it was like a 3.85 cumulative GPA. Baseball was 2nd, boys track 3rd, and girls track 6th. And those teams have big teams. So like they're competing against teams that only have 8 and we have 22 girls. So if you have one bad GPA, it kind of skews it. So to be 3rd in boys track and 6th in girls track is pretty incredible from the GPA standpoint. So that's the important stuff. Obviously, the records and the wins and losses, that's one thing, but GPAs are going to be what sends those kids and their academics. And we have very strong, our kids are participating in activities very strong in the classroom. And again, that's why we have started more sports up, and every activity we can get them involved in seems to have a great impact. We won the OACA All Sports Award. That's the Coaches Association Award that they just take how your teams finish at state playoffs, and the more points you get, the higher you finish. And we won it, and I think it's the 5th straight year that we've won it. They didn't give it out during COVID and the half COVID year. So for 5 straight years, we've had the best athletic teams, and that's pretty good accomplishment. Next week, the OSA Cup comes out, and I think we've won 5 of the last 6 of those. And that takes your grades and your sports teams finishes into account. And we got 2nd last year to Regis, but I think based on our finish here at the end, I think we'll probably win it again this year. And I think that's pretty cool stuff. And, I think we need to promote that as far and loud as we can, that Kennedy's the place, not only for athletes, but for student athletes for sure, and things that we offer. Trying to think if there's anything else. We're already into summer stuff. Basketball's going. Our girls basketball coach, they've struggled a little bit in the past couple of years trying to rebuild the program, but that guy's super passionate, super energetic, and I think he's got them going the right direction. They're playing a ton of games. We're already playing baseball, everything. So things are no downtime for any of the sports, but they're going to stay good and be a good representation of our school. And we took kids to every time we take kids to a away game, people are always commenting on how they act the right way and how we do things the right way. And I think it's pretty cool how we're thought of around the state. So any questions I can answer?
Just to piggyback on that, so our sportsmanship is noticed as being a positive aspect.
Yes, for sure.
Fans too, probably, or
I think so. I might not have said that 10 years ago, but I think right now we're doing pretty good on that. Yeah.
making some gains.
Yep. They're doing pretty well.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Any comments or questions for Kevin? Right, thank you, sir.
Good job, Mr. Montfort.
Thank you.
Next is Bill Shecker with our insurance.
Exciting stuff. So I gave you two things. We're just gonna go over this double-sided sheet. So just a general review. Oregon School Boards Association, OSBA, and Special Districts Association of Oregon formed the risk pool PACE. So we're not really insured by an insurance company. It's a self-insured pool made up of Oregon schools, ESDs, community colleges, public charter schools. It's an acronym for property and casualty coverage for education. Under the PACE liability coverage, we have a per occurrence of 10 million. Of that, the PACE trust has a limit of 1.5 million, and the rest of that is paid by our reinsurance carriers, which is kind of what drives rates. On top of the 10 million, then we have another 10 million called an excess liability. So we have 20 million per occurrence. On the auto portion, we have a 500,000 limit per occurrence. So in the event of an accident, there's up to 500,000 that's on the trust. And then there's an excess over the top of that of 14,500,000. So there's 15 million there. So now the property, we have 52 million in change coverage, which includes buildings, contents, all that. And the PACE insured portion is 1 million, and anything over the top is covered by the reinsurance carriers. Renewal premiums, inflation, up, claims increases, reinsurance premiums up, everything's up, right? So we're gonna see about a 17.85% increase in the rates. I think we already see that. So our loss ratio is pretty good. Kind of had some things this year that affected that. We could have had a little bit lower increase if our claims would have not been so bad, but that's what we have insurance for. So if we want to get down to it, the renewal rate increase, property reinsurance market, which drives rates, it's affected by, hurricanes, inflation, instability in financial markets, all kind of result in a hard insurance market. So our reinsurance rates for PACE are up about 35%. So on the liability portion, schools and whatnot, they're still getting hit pretty hard with sexual abuse claims. Frequency and severity seem to be increasing. These include SAM claims, which we continue to get hit. Recently, there was like a $3 million verdict against a school district. So that really hits us hard. The other one that is increasing are cyber claims, and public entities are targets. And they're just trying to, figure out how to rate this correctly and make sure that everybody's doing the right thing. Our Scott with the school district is really up on making sure everybody's doing the right thing. Page 2, earthquake coverage. So the PACE risk pool has an earthquake limit of 450 million. 2% deductible, minimum 5,000, max 50,000. Sublimit max for our district is 10 million. So that's the most that they would ever pay for an earthquake. In the event of a major earthquake, the risks pool of 450 million would be prorated amongst the member districts that have losses. You know, if there is a big earthquake, FEMA would step in and help us out as well. So I think, you know, having to obtain additional earthquake is probably not as important as you know, one would think, because there is other options out there. The employment practice deductible. So there's a $25,000 deductible for terminations if PACE or approved legal counsel is not consulted prior to an employment termination. And Rachel knows all about that, so we're good there. On the cyber liability things that they're doing, which Mount Angel has done, multi-factor authentication, deploy endo point protection software. They have staff trainings, which are mandatory, and they review and install security updates as they become available. So all that's good. Under the armed personnel coverage form, just an annual refresher, that the intent of this coverage form is to provide liability coverage for damage, defense costs arising out of the use of firearms by district employees or agents acting in the course and scope of their duties. So this would be more of like a SRO type person. So it's not intended to cover like a teacher that's, you know, has a weapon or whatnot. I guess it's I think you know. So if under number 4, you can, so PACE will not extend coverage to a district employees who are not certified as either armed private security professional or law enforcement officer by the Oregon Department of Safety Standards. Under this, students cannot possess firearms. Staff can possess if it does not go against district policy. And that may be something you're talking about. PACE does not want the school district to encourage employees to carry a weapon or to obtain a concealed carry permit. PACE will not extend coverage if an employee's contract encourages them to obtain a concealed carry permit. And if an employee does carry a weapon and there is an incident, the school district is covered for the vicarious liability for that incident, but they may not extend coverage to the employee. So does that make sense? Okay. So PACE continued services, they continue to provide legal services, loss control, safety and liability training, claims management, and online access to safe schools. On the workers' compensation coverage, this is written through SAIF, S-A-I-F. The coming year's experience mod is up 1.28, so that's up quite a bit from last year's mod of 0.93, and that really affects our rates. We're going to see about a $30,000 bill this year, but we did get a nice dividend of $3,399. And I think they still, you know, SAFE still continues to provide the dedicated regional safety consultant and return to work coordinator that works with the school if need be. So questions? I didn't want to take too long.
I'll just comment that just based on, because of work I've done in the past, I recognize what an experience modification number is, and a 1 is pretty much your average with like increase. You want to stay below 1 if you can. Anyway, yeah, so that just means the number and severity of our claims, workers' comp claims, is trending in a not.
And we have such a
Yeah.
small base.
Yes.
Our payroll base is small, so you have one claim and it can turn things the wrong way.
Yes. Any questions or comments, Bill? Right, well, yeah, 35% increase, not great news, but
No,
for the reinsurance.
for the reinsurance, so that's what Pace sees, and so.
And then
yeah, it's
trickles
just-
down to 17.5 for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, so we hope we see a reversal of things, but it's not looking that way in the insurance market.
Not a lot we can do to directly influence these rates. at this-
No,
So thank you.
we're doing great.
Thank you, Bill.
All right,
Bill,
thank you.
Bill, before
Yep.
you leave that chair, I want to say a big thank you. From all the students at St. Mary's as well as the district for your generous donation. Bill contributed a significant amount that is now going to fund 2 3D printers.
Wow.
At the elementary school that our students can access next year, so we're gonna get those ordered. And learn about the program, so next fall we'll be ready to go in our kindergarten. So thank you so much for contributing towards that.
You're welcome.
Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks. And as you're good, as part of the procedure for the work of the board, I now open our budget hearing. So for you all who are here in person or in our virtual audience, part of our meeting tonight is to consider adopting our budget for next fiscal year. And so if you want to make comments during the public forum piece of our meeting, it can be about the budget as well. So I just wanted to mention that. So opening our budget hearing. And I think the way we are seeing our agenda currently is good to go. If someone wants to make a recommendation to approve the agenda.
And move that we approve the agenda as presented. A second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Moving on to consent items. Is there anything in the consent items that a board member would like to consider for removal from the consent? Okay, I will accept a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. A second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion for this, I want to make note of a very prominent piece of our consent agenda, which is the resignation / retirement of Mr. Dale Peterson. And as Kevin Moffitt so kindly said, you care about the kids so much, and your leadership has reflected that in the 4 years we have had you. And I personally want to say thank you, and I will miss working with you. And I know those in the district feel very similarly. And if anyone else would like to say anything, we're gonna miss
I
you.
just, when I was up there doing my long-term subbing, I felt very welcome, and very much a part of the staff and everything, and a lot of that had to do with Dale. Appreciate it.
I don't know how anybody's gonna fill those shoes.
I think you should feel very proud of the years you were here and you left the place better. And that's the most important thing, that you left it in a good place, a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, hope you enjoy retirement with lots of golf.
Yes,
Plan, like, or
yes, we just wish you well,
Yes,
happiness, health, family time, non-family time, if that's what you need. All of the stuff. So,
Yeah,
thank you, Dale.
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be in this district. Gosh, this was my 5th year, and it's wow, going through a pandemic, you know, you come out the other side and you're like, we made it. And even last year, we were, my wife and I were reflecting on this, right? It's last year, we still had restrictions. We were in masks, we were 3 feet apart. You know, learning wasn't great, but we were super excited to have kids back in the building. Even though there was all the restrictions that we had, and you know, if you were in such close proximity, then you had to do this, and it was crazy, and it seemed like, you know, things were changing so quickly as far as the rules came and they went, but we made it. And our kids are heading in a trajectory that's a good thing for us. So I'm gonna keep watching, I'm gonna keep seeing, because there's great things on the horizon for this district. It's in really good hands. I'm excited to see who you hire at the high school that can take over the reins and push it forward, because it's ready, it's prime, it's ready to go. So super excited to see that happen.
Thank you, Dale.
Yeah.
Right, so, all in favor? Yeah, this is the consent agenda. Yes, thank you for letting me mention that piece of it. Moving on to reports. So do we have any licensed or classified representatives who would like to report to the board? Okay, administrator reports. Who wants to go first this evening?
All right. Since it is my last one, and I'll go first. I don't even need to bring my notes with this week. It's going to be relatively brief. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board for sharing in our celebration of our class of 2023 last Friday. Holy cow, it was standing room only. Other than our little glitch with the presentation, the slideshow, it was a wonderful, wonderful night. There was lots of side betting going on about how long it was going to take. And I said, it will take no longer than an hour and 15 minutes. Nobody believed me, and we were done in an hour and 5 minutes. And it wasn't because we were rushing or anything. It's just because that's how long it took, and it was great. So thank you very much for being there and celebrating and recognizing our seniors. So with that being said, I want to present you with three numbers: 40, 61, and $1,223,751. So the first one, 40, we had 40 seniors that earned awards at the Senior Awards Night this year, which was incredible. I tried to get her here tonight, but she didn't come because I wanted to publicly recognize Esmeralda Meraz. She has done an outstanding job of putting together a process for kids to be able to come in, fill out the applications. And not only that part of it, but the other part of it too is making those connections with our community partners. We heard a lot of people say this is the most applications they've ever had. And so it made their decisions really difficult, which was exactly what we want. Maybe they don't want that, but that's exactly what we want. And so it was great to see those kids honored that night. And Esmeralda did a great job with Senior Awards Night. 61 graduates. So what you'll see is you won't see this next year because ODE is always a year behind when it comes out in graduation rates, but you'll see it in 2 years. You'll probably see a graduation rate in the mid to upper 80s, which is a significant change to where we have been. I appreciate what you all said about we're heading in the right direction, and we are. We're trending in the right direction with grad rates, with test results. We were looking at SBAC results, and I think Ms. Stuckey's going to talk more about that next month, I believe. But we just took some really quick looks at some numbers, and that's also trending in the right direction as well. So 61 graduates. I mean, if you think about that, that's almost double what we had last year. So pretty phenomenal, and lots and lots and lots of hard work by staff, just prodding these kids to get stuff done with their stuff. And it was even up to the last minute for one of my students that I just looked him straight in the eye after calling his mom and go, if you don't get done with this today, you're not walking tomorrow. And that's coming from your mom. That's not even coming from me. And he finished what he needed to finish that night. Saw him the next morning, and it was fabulous when we went out and did the grad walks. The last number is the $1,223,751. I don't know why I remember numbers, I just do. That's the ex-math teacher in me. That's the number of scholarships and grants that our kids earned this year. For a school of about 220 kids, $1.2 million in scholarships and grants. 2 Ford Family Scholars, which is pretty phenomenal to actually just get one, but we had 2. Again, so Esmer has done a wonderful job building those processes for our kids. And when her and I talked this morning about what's the next steps for her, it's now moving from she has this process in place, that she had to really essentially build from scratch. So the next piece, which is our career readiness part, which is what she'll be working on next year, making those, building strong relationships with our community partners and our business partners for job shadowing and internships and externships. So that's next on her list to do to create policies and procedures for that. So I am super excited to see where that's going to go. She was a phenomenal hire, and I'm glad we're able to keep her because for years to come, when we were talking this morning, she goes, I don't plan on going anywhere, Dale. She says, so whether they like it or not, I'm stuck here. And I said, well, why would you say that? She goes, because sometimes I might rub people the wrong way. And I go, nah, it just means that you're pushing hard. And sometimes our kids don't like to be pushed hard, but it's a good thing. It's a really good thing because we had kids that earned scholarships this year that even applied that wouldn't have applied in years past. And that's solely due to her and the work that she's done. So I just wanted to publicly recognize her tonight because she's done phenomenal work in our building and she's going to continue to do so. So that's the 4 things I have for tonight. There's lots on the board report, but I really wanted to highlight those 4 pieces. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Thank you. I agree. Friday night's event was really well,
It was great.
really well done.
It was nice.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor's next.
So Monday night was our promotion. Tuesday was field day. Today was beach day for our 8th graders. Probably my face reflects that. Tomorrow is the last day of school of the year. So we got a half day tomorrow. We're beginning to take a look at next year and what that looks like, specifically around our incoming algebra students, and we will be offering a summer bridge for them. We'll also be offering during the summertime for incoming 6th graders a math opportunity to make sure that they're ready to go for 6th grade. And some of our reluctant heading into 7th grade mathematicians will be joining them as well. One other thing, we're also thinking about what do we do to support the community and our parents a little bit better next year. So we've come up with a couple of seminars, call them, or evening events. The first one is kind of Teenage 101. What does that look like to have a 6th grader? What's age appropriate? What does that mean? And how can we provide some information there? The second one is around technology. So I've recently attended a psychologist that connected technology and the teenage brain. And there are some interesting things that have come out without the spoiler alert here. It used to be that there was a correlation, they called it. These things travel together, brothers and sisters type thing, between social media, depression, and anxiety. It is now definitive. It is not a correlation. It is a causation. And it's time for us to get in front of our families and talk a little bit about what does that mean. And one of the biggest questions was, when do I give my teen their first phone? What does that look like? And the psychologist's answer was, wait as long as you possibly can. And then she was pressed a little bit further on that. And she said, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, question mark on the end. So I think it's time for us to get our families together and begin to have a conversation about technology. What does that mean? What does it look like? And to really arm our families with some information. So that's what we have planned for the summer. That's what we have planned going into next year.
Reading your report, that part right there was probably the thing I got excited about the most. And I think that partnering with the elementary school would be key, because by the time they get to you, unfortunately, a lot of kids do have phones.
You know, it's interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
No, that's okay. Keep going.
We're really seeing phones, and I'm looking at Jasmine, in about the 3rd grade now. So parents are making these decisions with kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old. And if we get them information in their 12, 13, and 14, now we're battling against something that's already in their hands. This is the conversation I have often with parents. I say, and the kid's sitting there in the room, and I say, so whose phone is it? The kid always says mine. And the parent, more than 80% of the time, also says the kids. And then I followed up with, well, who pays the bill? And the parent says, I do. And then I stop and say, so whose phone is it? And the parent gets it quickly. I'd say about 40% of the time, the student still says mine. So there's an interesting thing happening there where we've moved. The world has changed. And it's time to arm our parents and students with information about what that looks like. And this is brain research. So this is not Jeff's ideas, nor AT&T Wireless ideas. This is from the psychologists and what they're seeing. This one particular lady had studied it through COVID and then on into now. So super interesting. Questions, thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I remember getting mine when I first started walking to school on my own and getting home because mom was at work from in Salem. And the only thing I ever had was text, phone calls. That was the only thing I had on my phone. That was the only thing I was allowed.
Very different times now. Very different times. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. Let's see, tonight, I'm not sure, did they get that update in their packet? That updated data.
Oh,
Okay, it's okay. We'll make sure to get it to you if you don't have it.
It says yellow highlighted updated data.
Okay,
Nothing.
I have the updated data. So if you'll recall last month, two things. One, we were not finished giving our DESA assessment, which is more on the social emotional wellness of our students. So I have some updated data. I do believe you have that one in your chart, so I'll speak to that one first. Last year was our first year with DESA. We did it twice. We didn't really use the data much. We were sort of watching for what happens with that data over the year. We found nothing happens with the data if you don't do anything with it. Our numbers at the beginning of the year and the end of the year were almost exactly the same. And so this year we were challenged with figuring out, how might we use the data to help inform what we do with our kiddos, to help improve their, social emotional wellness and behavioral skills. So we ran several intervention groups. Of course, we had a counselor this year, so we had a lot more in-class support with additional lessons that way. And overall, last year at the beginning of the year, we had 69% of our students scoring a 50 or higher, which we feel is like a really good bar on that measure. At this point, we're at 76% of our students scoring that high, which was pretty significant, more so when you look at the racial achievement gap difference. Our Hispanic students went from 61% scoring 50 or higher to 75%. That was a pretty significant jump. Our non-Hispanic students went from 74 to 77. So, still a lot of work to go. And of course, as you set goals, you're trying to figure out what is reasonable and not. I'd say we always shoot a little higher than we feel we might achieve. And we got pretty close on that one. So pretty excited about that and where we're going in the future. The data that you do not have was because I was updating it just this week as we were finishing tabulating scores. If you'll recall, we gave our EasyCBM reading assessment a little bit too early this spring. We did it intentionally. We wanted to be able to use the data and still intervene on it, but it was outside of the norm referenced timing. And we felt like we're doing better than that. Like, we knew something was off. And so we gave another round beginning of June. And we had a decent increase in our scores overall. 57% of our students last spring were rated as in the low risk category in reading overall, which is a culmination of 3 or 4 tests. And now we're at 62% of students. It doesn't seem like a lot, but moving percentile rankings and categories is actually pretty significant. So I will get the updated data to you so you can look more closely at that, and I'd be happy to chat more about it. Other than that, we also had promotion last night. Thank you for those of you that were able to attend. It was a quite full house for a 5th grade promotion, and it was great. We had a good time, and the students were so proud of themselves. Getting up on stage and speaking is a pretty nerve-wracking thing for anyone. And we had 8 student speakers, so it was great. We have 3 summer opportunities. We are focusing in on our 2nd grade students that are needing a little extra support in reading. We feel like 2nd grade reading fluency is a really big target. And if we can improve the rate of students that are on track at 2nd grade fluency, their comprehension will come a lot further by 5th grade. So we're just trying to nail down those pinpoints where we really feel like we can make a difference. So that is our target this summer. We are also offering Kinder Camp for our kinders for the 2nd year in a row, our incoming kinders. So they get to ride the bus to school if they want. They get to have breakfast and lunch and see what kindergarten is all about, play on the playground in a much smaller setting than, the first day of school, where everything's pretty big and, with a lot more students present. So we're excited about that. And then Mr. Thompson and Mr. Brendan were successful in writing a grant for a summer robotics camp. And so we just keep growing all of the opportunities that we're able to have for our students, in addition to the 3D printers, which is going to be great. But we're going to offer 3 one-week sessions for students, and with a cool new robot. I was looking at it, looks a little different, not Legos. So it looks pretty cool. So lots of fun opportunities that we've had. Any questions? Field day, yeah, clearly. I went home and took a nap. I'm sorry. It's been a long week already, and it's Wednesday. Yeah, field day was amazing. We had so many families joined us too today. I think, it was the first time we've really been able to welcome families back onto campus for field day. And successful rocket launches, relays, staff dodgeball. I'm going to be regretting tomorrow. Shoulder doesn't work like it used to.
Graders or the staff win?
Is that a question to ask?
No, so okay.
The kids generally beat us every year, and it feels
They're fast.
they're really faster every single year. Yes.
A little more targets.
More of them.
Yes. So there were 60, and I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 adults that played. So, we've got to play and play and play, and yeah, but it's super fun. Very fun. What else? Kona Ice, the fire department was there spraying everybody down with their hose. It was a great time.
I have a couple questions.
Yes,
The robotics campus, when's the information going out about
it went out this week.
this week?
Yes,
Gotcha.
it's for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders.
Oh,
Take it back.
okay. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
And then, clarifying question on the summer school.
Absolutely.
In 2nd grade, it
Yes.
says up to 25 students served. How many
Yes.
students?
So we invited 25. I'm sure they will not all participate, but up to 25 students could be served during that time.
So is that saying that 25 of our 43 are not that reading fluency? Am I understanding that correctly up to grade level?
Oh, so 25 students that were below grade level. Yes, so that's what we're targeting.
Yes. Okay, I was just. Okay. Thank you.
Good question. All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
And is Erica up? There's Erica. Hello.
Hey guys, you have my written report. And I'm assuming that you've read it and you loved it and you have no questions. But I do want to pause just in case you do. But my plan for tonight was actually to donate my time to Will Holman, who is our ELD program TOSA, who we hired with $34.99 funds. And he has a very lovely presentation prepared for you guys to update you on what we've been doing this year. But I do want to check in case you do have any questions about my report.
I'm seeing no questions, Erica.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to him. But of course I am here if you do have any questions.
Thank you.
Are you in charge of the thing?
Yep. I'm here to present.
Right. Maybe.
There it goes.
There it is.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Will Holman. I'm, as Erica said, our English language development program teacher on special assignment. And I am funded by House Bill 3499, which is what I'm here to talk about today, about who the House Bill 3499 team is, what we've done this year, and what we're going to be up to in the future. Okay. So first off, I want to explain the way that the grant funding works. It's 4 years, hence 4 quadrants in this pie chart here. The top 2 in black are our first biennium, a set 2 years where we have this much money to spend. And the bottom 2 in gray are our second biennium. We are in year 2 of biennium 1. And that means that last year, which was our first year of grant, we didn't spend a whole lot of money. We didn't have all the pieces in place that we wanted. So we were able to move that money into this year and do a lot of really exciting stuff that I'm going to tell you about. But first, I will say that when year 3 comes next year, it's going to feel like a little bit of a cut because our funding is going to level off. Our focus is on English language learners and their families in academics, social and emotional support, wellness, that sort of thing, in family engagement, and also in technology that supports our students in the mainstream classrooms generally. Our resources this year have mostly been towards staffing, towards FTE. I've put myself up in the left corner under academic as 1.0 FTE, but I'm really in all of the corners as I coordinate the systems and programs, and I work with all of these people. Firmly within the academic section, though, is our ELD newcomer specialist teacher. We also have a full-time family engagement specialist, or colaboradora familiar, as she prefers to be called. We have a half-time counselor working on social and emotional wellness with our kids. She's half-time with our funding, and the other half, she's MAM's counselor. We've also been able to buy some technology resources this year to support kids. Our staff that we have hired for this year are Rachel Hill. She is our newcomer specialist teacher. And in terms of our strategic plan, her role is educational pathways for vulnerable students. We had a big uptick in the amount of newcomers this year in our district, and she's been helping to address that. Reina Gonzalez, our counselor, is working with social and emotional needs. And Teresa Murphy, our colaboradora familiar, she invites families into the buildings. She puts on events. She communicates in students' home languages. And she also creates a welcoming, friendly space for all of our families and kids. And I adjust the programs. I look at a lot of data and use it to help guide decisions for all of the things that we're doing. A lot of the adjustments that we've done this year have been academic adjustments. Our goal is always going to be closing the gap between our English language learners' outcomes and our general ed student outcomes. The way that it's played out this year, we've been working a lot on integrating language support, making common formative assessments that we give to our students so that we know what they need to know, what we need to teach them, and then we start conversations with the mainstream staff about how we can best teach those things to them, whether it's in ELD section or it's in their mainstream classes that they're in all day, because that's the majority of the day. However, we do have some pull-out class sections. They are just for our newcomers. So you can see we've had a 250-ish% increase in students who are brand new to
the English language, the country, both. So we've had our newcomer teacher come in. She's done a lot of really great work in her dedicated class sections with these students. And one of our big accomplishments this year is that we created a custom assessment system just for those students. So the assessment is called the Matrix of Grammatical Forms. Really snappy name, I know. It comes from a fantastic piece of research about how grammar builds in complexity. And the idea behind it is that vocabulary, words, phrases are like a brick, and to build a wall. Communication, you have to mortar the bricks together, put it all together to communicate. And grammar is your mortar, and it's the easiest thing for us to measure. And the statewide measure that we use, the ELPA, with students like this, it'll tell us they're a beginner or they're intermediate, and it doesn't give us a lot of information in between. So we created this, it took us a little while until the middle of the year. That's why it says MOI. So each one of these says, the blue is their beginning general level of English. A 100 on this scale represents that they are at an intermediate level. I want to draw your attention to the two at the very far right. Those are students who've been here for about a month, who came in knowing yes and no, essentially. And now they are 75% of the way to being intermediate. They're putting together sentences. We've seen growth that's fantastic all across the board for those students. It's been really great. In the family engagement realm, this is Teresa Murphy's. She's fostered so much communication between our families and our schools. She's been doing a lot of event planning. We have events called Unidos that are after school. It's been 4 times this year, where we invite in our Latino families and celebrate something generally. This year, we've been able to celebrate some things that the district hasn't celebrated before, like Mother's Day and some newer holidays that are fun for us. We did also Mexican Independence Day. It's been really great. We've gotten a double attendance boost this year. We've also been able to get some good feedback from those parents. It's not all celebration. We had a night where they came in and gave us their opinions on if the bond were to go through back, what would be your priorities in our buildings. She's also worked to create supportive spaces, particularly in JFK. She's been doing a lot of really excellent work. She's got a new club that focuses on our Latino students' heritage and identity coming up next year. And she also got a grant to provide more material support, like clothes and food, to our families next year. In counseling, our half-time counselor has been able to give us a little bit more flexibility for when students are in crisis. She's been able to give our most strategic students a little bit of academic support, put some pressure on them. And also she's had some time to get into classrooms and get some data on where our students are engaged and disengaged. And she's also been able to use some data from DESA, as Jasmine was mentioning, to break down what aspects of social and emotional health our ELL students are struggling with and put them into targeted interventions. This year, they looked at goal-directed behavior and decision-making. We've made some good gains there. We've also been able to spend some money on technology, which is great. Most of it has gone to buying iPads. There's a lot that an iPad can do for helping these students. We're soon to have a total of 24 of them. And they can take the instructor speaking, put it directly into a student's ear in any language they choose. So happens that all of our newcomer ELs, all of our ELs in general, well, no, we have a few Russian speakers, but the vast majority are Spanish speakers. But if we were to get someone who spoke Vietnamese, for example, we would be able to use the iPad technology we have to let the instructor speak into a microphone, and then in that student's ear, it's coming out in Vietnamese or Spanish or Russian or whatever the student needs. We've been able to also buy some software. The one on the icon on the left, that's for our students with interrupted formal education. They've missed multiple years of schooling, something like that. It's able to, in Spanish, do instruction at a student's level. when oftentimes that's difficult to do in a maintained classroom. And the little icon on the right, Flashlight 360, is an assessment tool that we used mostly in St. Mary's this year to track our students' progress. As I mentioned, as the biennium changes, it's going to feel like our funding is going down. And one of the things that is going to go away is bottom left there, the subscription-based software. The interrupted formal education support has a lot of materials that you can print out to keep forever free, so we're doing that. And the assessment piece is being replaced by common formative assessments that we're going to be rolling out in our PLCs. Biennium reductions also, thankfully, don't have so much reduction. Our family engagement specialist is going to stay on at full time, just switching funding sources. Our newcomer teacher is switching funding sources and going to half-time. And our counselor's position will be absorbed by a full-time counselor. Next year, we're looking at building some courses for our JFK newcomers and our highest needs ELs. We're also going to be working within the PLCs that we already have and creating new ones to follow our students with data and make sure that we're adjusting our instruction to fit them. And we're also looking at teaching language through science in kindergarten. And then hopefully, once we get that established, it will be a program that moves up a grade with that cohort until we've got a system like that throughout the elementary school. So then we have one more year. Our fourth year, we're going to be building capacity for people who are not paid for by $34.99 to continue the systems that we've created, because the grant funding ends, just like this presentation right now. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And I'm sure Erica would as well.
Thank you, Will. Does anybody have questions?
Great data,
Really?
great information,
Yeah.
great job, the whole
Yeah.
department.
Well done. Thank you very much. Erica, do you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to make sure that you guys got to meet Will. I remember when we, got our House Bill 3499 notification, and there was a lot of, questions and wonderings, and it took us a while to, get all the pieces together. And Will has just been a fantastic hire, and then we had, all these newcomers, and we had to shift constantly. And as you can see, he's just done some great work, and we have this really robust team, and it just feels really good. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Will, very much. Moving on to budget report, Christy.
Okay, so my first report is just the normal lunch. Bigger lunch fund summary. For May, again, just pretty standard in revenue, 42,172. That 3,551, that's something that we do each year. General fund has to match. Put in a match for the state school fund. It's a required amount. We get it from a letter from the state saying how much, and so that's where that money comes from. And total expenses is a little bit higher this month in terms of food supplies. So you can see our total expenses were $51,534. So I think this is the first month that we've dipped down into the negative for the food service program. We knew it was coming, or I knew it was coming, but this is the first time that we've done that. So any questions on the food service? Okay, so this is the report for the general funds. May is a fun month because we get our double state school fund, whatever was, or not double, I'm sorry, the remaining state school fund. So it's a reconciliation of the prior year, as well as a reconciliation of this year. So our state school fund payment for May was the $1 million. Another thing to note for this month, that 53,000 in local income. 52,000 of that is from the Emergency Connectivity Fund. It's through E-rate. So basically, these are funds that we receive from the federal government, and we use them to purchase new Chromebooks. This is the second year that we've been awarded that particular grant. It can be used for Chromebooks, hotspots, if we were using things to continue education for students through the pandemic. And we were really fortunate to get it 2 years in a row. From what I understand, the 9/11 districts were able to get it a second time. So our total monthly revenue for the month of May was 1.1 million. And then expenses for the month, like we talked about before, salaries go up in May because we pay out all the sports and the stipends. So you can see an increase in that. And so our total expenses for the month was 862,000. So we're still trending good in terms of a month-end fund balance. So that's exciting. So any questions on this at all? All right.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Moving on to superintendent's.
This may be the shortest superintendent report that you've received from me in the last year, but I think I'll probably make up for that during the action item process. So keep that in mind. So tonight's topics: student enrollment, transfer requests in and out, and general enrollment, and the high school principal hiring timeline. So that's it. And transfer requests, that should have been updated to say since May. My apologies. 0 in, 0 out. Our enrollment, as the packet does show you also, we're at 660 students. And the hiring timeline, June 8th through the 20th, we right now have a family and staff survey, 2 surveys out for feedback and input. The position closes Wednesday, June 21st. I put an asterisk there because that could get pushed out depending on how many applicants we have, but that's what we're shooting for right now. Friday, June 23rd is when we're intending to do paper screening of applications, and I'll be bringing a team together to help with that. Round 1 short interviews, which will be virtual, will be June 27th and 28th, and that will be with me. 3 or 4 questions at the most. And then we'll move, I will do reference checks on all that I do those first round interviews with, and then recommend folks to move forward into round 2 interviews, which would be in person. I've got a great group that will be working with me on this process on July 5th and July 6th. I'll do round 2 deeper reference checks. And then we're aspiring to offer the position and have it announced on July 7th.
Rachel, who's the mix of your team?
We have 3 teachers from JFK, 2 classified from JFK, and we have a couple of central office staff as well.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. That's my report. Any other questions?
A comment, I don't know if you'll appreciate me saying that out loud, Rachel, and Rachel is taking much needed time off at the end of this month, and the virtual interviews land during her vacation. So she's going to be zooming in from Joseph, which is a lovely venue for having to, engage in interviews. So thank you for keeping this moving so quickly. Be good. Any questions or comments for Rachel? Right. Excellent. You're right. That was one of the shorter ones. Any board member reports? Okay. Moving on to public forum. So this is a chance for anyone in person or in the Zoom room to address our board. Is anybody signed up? Still? I'm gonna count in my head to 10, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, and we didn't have any public forum signups, so we're going to go ahead and close our budget hearing now. And moving on to action items. So Meningel School District budget for 2023-24. Lots that goes into this. And do you want to tee this up at all, Rachel, or
I'm wondering if
or
Christie,
Christie?
is there anything that you would like?
Not anything about this particular, yeah, no.
Okay, pretty straightforward. So really, we can ask questions, or if someone's ready to state the resolution as is listed in 10-1 on our blue sheet. It's kind of a mouthful.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Mount Angel School District 91 hereby adopts the budget for the fiscal year 2023-24, the sum of $30,069,409, now on file in the District Administrative Office. Be it resolved that the amounts for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and for the purposes shown below are hereby approved. Be resolved that the school board of the Mount Angel School District 91 hereby imposes taxes provided for in the adopted budget at the rate of $4.62 per 1,000 of assessed value of operations, and in the amount of $1,387,444 for bonds, and that these taxes are hereby imposed and categorized for tax year 2023 and 2024 on the assessed value of all taxable property within the district.
Thank you, Andy. And I think I will build a motion to approve the resolution as stated. Or is that all we need
So
to
the
do?
budget was already approved.
Okay,
last
so,
month.
so we don't need to take a vote or anything. We just need to do the reading of the resolution. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So yay, we have a budget for next fiscal year. Good job. And I want to thank members of the budget committee who are community members as well, because they're very essential and key to this whole process. So thank you, everyone. Spring Valley Dairy RFP extension for 2023-24.
So we have a 5-year, basically rolling contract with Spring Valley. So every year we just extend that up through 2025. So this is the opportunity to extend that contract.
Let's make a motion.
I move to approve the extension of RFP D 2020 to 2025 to Spring Valley for the 2023-2024 school year.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All right, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimously. And the bond resolution.
Yes, well, there is a lot of information here in your packets, and there are many things that are not in my wheelhouse to be able to answer, but what I can tell you is what bond counsel asked us to focus on, or asked you to focus on as a board, were 3 parts. And so if you look on the very first page, section 2, an important part of this resolution is that as a board, you authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds. So that is one important piece. The next important piece that you need to be aware, very aware of, is section 13, which is on page 4. That's the determination of the result of the election, and you have those election results in front of you. So if and when you pass this or approve this resolution, you are also approving and adopting the election results. And then section 14, which is on page 5, is the approval of bond issuance procedures. And this falls into 2 categories. Exhibit A. Exhibit A is about bond post-issuance compliance procedures as they relate to federal tax procedures. And then Exhibit B is continuing disclosure controls and procedures around security laws. And the reason for that is because all investors must have access to information about our school district at all times. That's part of them being investors. And it also involves a continuing disclosure statement and a certificate that will be signed by authorized representatives. And the continuing disclosure statement will include an annual report and an audit statement that are accessible to investors, as well as anything that may happen that they call a specified event. For example, if the district went bankrupt, we would want to make sure that our investors knew that, and that is any kind of, there's a specific event such as that we need to inform investors within 10 days. So those are the really important pieces that we were asked to focus on tonight, but there is also quite a bit in here in this resolution. So I would invite you to ask questions, and Christy and I will do our best to answer them.
And if no questions, if somebody wants to make a motion as listed on the blue sheet.
I move to approve the resolution of the Management School District number 91, Marion County, Oregon, authorizing the sale of general obligation bonds.
Seconded.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Right, passes unanimously. And then construction manager, general contractor.
All right, basic information to share with all of you. A background information: in July of 2022, the school district received notification that we were the recipients of almost $2.5 million in seismic rehabilitation grant funds through the state of Oregon. In January 2023, the school board approved a contract with WRK Structural and Seismic Engineers. In March of 2023, the school board held an open hearing to review findings and receive public comment as it relates to the construction manager general contractor, or CMCG, project delivery method. At that time, there was no public comment and the hearing was closed. And the school board approved the use of the CMCG project delivery method for the Mount Angel School District Seismic Rehabilitation Project. In the next steps, a CMCG RFP was posted and 7 companies provided proposals for the screening committee to review. All proposals were scored, and the top 4 companies were invited to interviews, in-person interviews, not virtual interviews. Those took place on Thursday, June 8th. And after completing interviews with all 4 companies, the selection committee identified the company that was the best fit for Mount Angel and for the seismic rehabilitation project. So after a very thorough process, the selection committee is recommending to the board to approve a contract with CB Construction.
And do we have the contract? Is it?
We do not.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
I.
Contract is, yes,
That was.
Thank you.
So this is approving, moving ahead with.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the contract with CD Construction.
Second
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
question I have is they're gonna be working with a bond contractor, no?
They are open to putting in bids for bond work. And that addendum was added to the RFP right after the bond passed. Is there anything to add to that?
No, I mean, it's this
I guess to clarify, they would have to maybe work together.
potentially,
Potentially.
yeah, we did put it in the RFP, it is mentioned about the bond. So we have a little leeway there, but we have to consult the council first before we could do it without an RFP for sure, yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, potentially save some money on the bond work that needs to be done there. We're able to coincide, is that what Mark was saying, coincide with other contractors or potentially them if they were to bid the work?
But yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we may or may not have to do an RFP for some of the work at the middle school because of the way the RFP was written initially. But we don't know that for fact. We need to consult legal counsel first. But regardless, that's our intention, is to have some collaboration of some.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Discussion items. Board policy first reading.
Okay, a bit of deja vu here. We have already discussed this, and actually this was approved, but it was approved with a clerical error that I made, which I deeply apologize for. What ended up happening is that the actual policy IGBBA, which is about the identification of talented and gifted students, does not match the administrative rule that goes with it. One of them outlines that if there is any dispute in the findings, that parents can use our complaint process through policy KL. The other one, an older version, says that they would use a separate complaint process just for TAG. And so they don't match. So what we wanted to do was have everything streamlined through KL to make things very clear for everybody in the community in case they ever needed to use that. So the actual AR is correct and does not require further review, but the policy itself, IGBBA, needs to be reviewed again in a first reading under discussion agenda. And this time the correct language has been opened up and what we don't want has been crossed out. And you'll find that in your packet.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions or concerns about moving this forward?
May I just say one quick thing? Also, I identified this afternoon that this says step 3 at the last portion, and that is incorrect. If you look at page 2 of the AR and the sample policy, I had written down 3. That's bringing their complaint to the board, and that is not what we want. We want it to start with the superintendent. So 3 is an error. It actually is 2. That you would want to note in your motion as yes.
Anything else, Rachel, on that one? Okay. Student representative.
All right, first of all, before we introduce our new representative to the board, I want to say a big thank you to the for being our very first student rep to the board. They did a great job this year. Giving great insight to the students at JFK. So really appreciate all the time that you have given attending board meetings, the bond meetings, all of the meetings. It is a big commitment. So really want to say thank you for that. You did a great job. You should be proud of your work.
I agree. Thank you, Taylor. It's very nice working with you, hearing from you and knowing.
I'm glad I got to be a guinea pig.
You provided great input that will make the position even better in the future. So thank you for that as well. Our new student rep for next year, 2023-2024 is Reed Kaufman. He has come tonight to introduce himself to you. He will be taking over starting next month. He will be a junior next year as well. Reed, would you like to share anything else about yourself?
I am a very ambitious person, and I think that I would like to work on a lot of things, and I'm very, like I said, ambitious about getting the school more inclusive, and I'm very excited to see what we can get done next year.
So I'm really excited to have Reed join our crew.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So thank you, Reed, for coming in. sitting through all of the entire meeting.
We just,
Appreciate your patience.
It was the best for last.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
well, welcome, Reed, and we look forward to having you at our table with us next year. Anything else? With that, meeting is adjourned. Work, everyone.